Jeffrey. Good evening. All right, good evening. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting, Monday, May 18th, 2015. I ask everybody to rise and pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good evening. I just, before we get to our reorganization of the board, I just want to welcome Mr. Dawes to the Board of Selectmen.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your win. Nice to have you with us. And congratulate Mr. Surface for starting his third term as a Board of Selectmen member. So thank you for both for serving and your service. We appreciate it. And congratulations to all those that were reelected, and I think some appointed, or write-ins that were elected as well. We didn't have much of a contest going on, but we appreciate everybody that did come out and vote. And also, I really want to send special thanks to our friends at the Park and Rec committee there for the fantastic new playground that they engineered, funded, and to all of the volunteers, including pretty much everybody on this board, was there either Saturday or Sunday or both, building the new park. So Harry, thanks for cranking the machines around, and everybody that helped out, because we've got a brand new play area down at American Legion Park that is just stunning, and we have one more big piece that's going to go in sometime in July that's really going to blow everybody's mind, but that's going to be professionally installed, and it'll be pretty much up and ready to go by the end of the week. The only thing we're really missing right now are the swings, so those will get installed hopefully this week. And I think the kids and the families at Georgetown are going to love this new playground, and I hope you all enjoy it and treat it respectfully and well, and enjoy it for many, many years to come. All right. Mike, you're up.
Okay, this being the first meeting after elections, it's traditionally the time for the Board of Selectmen to reorganize themselves, to elect a new chairman and a new clerk. So without further ado, I'll take nominations for chairman.
Mike, I'd like to nominate Phil Trapani as chairman.
Mike, I'd like to nominate Gary Fowler as chairman.
Do we have any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate Mr. Trapani as chair.
We have a nomination for Bill, right?
You only need one.
Oh, okay. Okay, yep, all right, we have, are there any other nominations? Okay, we'll close the nominations for chair. What we usually do is take the nominations one at a time, and in the order of, and we'll just vote yay or nay. So, the first nomination was for Mr. Trapani. All in favor of Mr. Trapani being the chairman, say aye.
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 All opposed?
Nay.
Uh, 3-2. Or was that a nay?
He's got it, I might as well make it,
Well,
you know,
You can revote
well,
after.
you have to,
we didn't
the
have
way
discussion,
this
but-
works, somebody else could get a 3-2 vote too. So let's just go through, there's a nomination for Mr. Fowler as chair. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'll say aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
I'll abstain, I'm not gonna say nay.
Okay, 2, and 1 abstention. One abstention. Okay, there being no other nominations, Mr. Trapani is now the new chairman. We will also take nominations for clerk.
Mike, I'd like to nominate Doug Dawes as the clerk.
we have it, okay, do we have any other nominations for clerk? All right, the nominations for clerk are closed. All in favor of Mr. Dawes as clerk of the Board of Selectmen, say aye.
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 All opposed?
New guy gets to work his pen a little.
Nay, first meeting.
This is your probie thing going on here, buddy.
tell you that when you
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gotta let you know that.
4-1 in favor.
Sharpen that pen, baby.
Congratulations, Mr. Dawes. Actually, there's Janet is the real clerk behind the clerk,
Right.
so,
She'll show you what not to do.
I'm sure.
the nominations being taken care of, I'll turn the meeting over to new chairman Trapani.
All right. Move over.
Musical chairs.
Now I can fall asleep in your over here.
No, I can't get caught.
Now you have to stay awake, buddy.
Well, first of all, thank you. I appreciate the vote of confidence. This is going into my 9th year, 3rd term. You're a glutton for punishment, going into your 3rd term. But I appreciate you guys asking me, and I look forward to helping drive a good year here before I retire from my position. By the way, I'm giving my 1 year's notice right now. All right, we got a pretty busy agenda tonight, so let's get started here. Actually, before I do that, I want to thank Stu. So, Stu,
Yeah.
thank you very much for your year of hard extra work here. I know as a chairman, in the years I've done it, it's a lot of extra work. So we get to do the easy stuff, and the chair usually has to do all the hard work. So I may ask for your advice and help on how to get through it again this year.
All right, wake me up before you leave tonight. Thank you, but it was my pleasure.
All right, well, let's do this. I think the parcel F 172 East Main Street is going to take a little bit, so let's do the change of manager at Holloway's. So, Attorney Mann? All right. If you wouldn't mind just stating your name and address for the record?
Well, certainly. Jill Mann, 191 South Main Street in Middleton, here on behalf of Ribo's Bistro 2, the restaurant doing business as Holloway's Grill over at the Black Swan Golf Course. Here with me this evening is Phil Devlin, the new, hopefully, if this board agrees, manager of the liquor license and manager of the restaurant over at the Black Swan.
Selectmen, good evening. My name is Philip Devlin. I live in Gloucester, Massachusetts. I've been at the Black Swan for a little over a month, and it's looking to take over the liquor license manager.
All right, well, welcome. We appreciate you coming this evening for us. So, why don't we just start off, Philip, if you could just share a little bit about your background. I know you sent us your resume, and it was very thorough, but maybe you can share with the public a little bit about your background and what you'd like to do up there.
My background, I've been in this industry since about 13 years old. Wasn't going to be doing this forever, but
It's amazing how that happens.
like every young man, I was trying to be a police officer. But anyway, I was at the Essex County Club in Manchester, Massachusetts for 13 years
Yep.
as a chef. I then went to work for Aramark at MIT and Boston University. And from there, I went to the Boston Yacht Club in Marblehead, Massachusetts, where I was the general manager, and also the manager on record for the license.
Yep.
And now I'm at the Black Swan, taking over Holloway's Bar and Grill. I also did a stint as city councilor in Gloucester, which was, I did 2 years, but then I got a job in Boston that became a lot. It was
Gotcha.
a lot of work, but yeah, so I'm looking forward to this and excited about it. We've had some folks come in because expecting, the old Holloway's stuff, but when you have change of managers unexpectedly and can't always do the same thing the other person was doing, so we will have different products and different food, and
Yep.
but we're hoping that people will really enjoy what we have to offer.
So you're gonna be shaking it up a little down there. All right. Well, I'll open it up for some questions from our board, if you guys have any questions.
Mr. Chairman, Are you open now, or? Have
We've
you-
been open limited. We had an issue in our restaurant kitchen with a pipe break. We've been repaired that damage and got the okay just on Thursday from the Board of Health to reopen.
Okay.
So we've been open limited with limited menu while we get new product in-house and get it all prepped and ready to go.
All right.
Planning on, Mr. Chair, planning on staying open, or opening pretty much full-time during the week and weekends? and
7 days,
Going
yeah.
full service again?
Yes.
Great.
Good. Yeah, it's missed.
Looking
It's
forward to it.
sorely
Yeah.
missed, let me tell you.
Look, we've got a lot of phone calls and it's,
Yeah.
it's a little frustrating and we appreciate the patience from everyone. We wanna be open, we wanna be there
Okay.
servicing.
Gotcha.
Mr. Chair, yeah, just to let you know, I typically don't vote for this license because of I have some differences in the fact that the town can't control the, time of the golf cart that sells out on the course. Do you still intend to have that?
We do have a beverage cart, yes.
Yeah, okay. And then the other thing, if I may, Mr. Chair, typically, I know a lot of this stuff goes to the state, but all that we have here is a query application. I don't know that, I don't think this is the, I guess we don't typically see that goes to the state, we don't get to see the query?
The actual report?
Yes,
You're,
No.
no.
okay.
It's either yes or
That's on the
approved or not
state.
approved.
Well, then the other thing I have though is, do you have a valid driver's license? Cause the license that you have here has you as living in Magnolia, Mass, and is expired on 2014.
Currently, I do not know.
So, is this application valid?
If I may, the reason why you offer your driver's license is so that you can offer what your state of residency is. Because your birth certificate demonstrates that you're a US citizen, but there is absolutely no requirement that you be a driver in the state of Massachusetts, of Commonwealth, excuse me, of Massachusetts. But I don't disagree, get your license renewed. However, there is no legal requirement that you must drive, none.
It just expired on its own, or?
Yeah, I haven't renewed it. I share a vehicle with someone else and I get a ride that way.
Any other questions?
No, Mr. Chair, I move to approve this change of license for Ribos Bistro 2, Inc. from last approved manager James P. Holloway to Philip J. Devlin.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
So, Mike, if anything comes back on the query, we'll hear from the state, right?
Yes.
If there's any issues there related to,
What they do is they send back that Form 43,
Yep.
and they send it disapproved, and then they send me a letter telling me why.
okay. So if the state declines it for some particular reason, and we've approved it, it's declined, obviously. They overrule anything that we can do locally, right?
Right.
So this is just a request for them to approve it, technically, right?
Yes, both have to approve.
Right, both have to approve it, but,
They don't even have the opportunity to approve it if you don't.
right,
So
exactly.
then they just go through, they do the query check, they actually do a couple of other checks, because they check with the Department of Unemployment for the company, they check the good standing, so they make sure all taxes are paid, so they do a little bit more of a detailed check than you would. And then, they do a criminal background check to make sure that nothing
Right.
has gone on.
Right. So so I wanna go back to the license issue. So that you just let that expire on
Yeah,
your own,
I
it
don't-
wasn't taken away from you or anything?
I don't have a vehicle. Someone else drives me.
Okay. All right, but as far as the license, just didn't renew it on your own, it wasn't revoked or anything like that?
I just didn't renew it.
All right,
Gotcha. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak or have any questions? No? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
all right.
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
And they,
Okay, 4-1. All right, congratulations. Good luck down there.
Thank you very much.
Looking forward to having you guys open up and see what's changed.
Oh.
Appreciate it.
Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Thank you.
You guys have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
One request, just keep the lobster BLT on the menu.
I'm sorry.
That's my favorite thing up there, seriously. Love the lobster BLT.
All right, so let's get right into the core of our agenda tonight. So we're gonna have a conversation on this parcel F-172 East Main Street. So, just to show of hands so I know what boards are here, Conservation Commission, Park and Rec, Planning Board, Water Commission? Okay. All right. Let's do this. So I think to try to make this as efficient yet as informative as possible, I want to start off with the planning board, as this was a result of the Turning Leaf subdivision, the purpose of the land that was gifted to us. I'd like to have the planning board up first, if we could just get an understanding of what the intent of the property was and any background information you can help us, if that would be okay.
Mr. Chair, actually, the Conservation Commission acted.
Of the conservation. Well, then let's do that.
They held their hearings prior to the.
Yeah, but the
planning.
original application came to planning board first.
No.
Yes or no?
No.
Aim at conservation? All right, well, that's, I stand corrected, so let's do conservation.
Mr. Chairman, can I just make one informational correction before we continue with it? This, and I don't know how it appeared on the warrant, but it seems as though this parcel is being associated in some erroneous way with 172 East Main Street. That's United Foam Plastics. We really need to straighten that out.
Okay, well, I'm getting my information from what's being submitted to us, so, okay.
So, just so everybody's clear on that. Because there is another parcel. It is associated with 172, because it was cut off from UFP.
Is there a street address for this particular property?
Lisa Lane,
Just parcel F?
coming off of Lisa Lane
It's a
now.
park on the page, I believe. Mr. Chairman.
Okay, well, I'll strike that from our notes here. So if we could have the Conservation Commission come up, then that would be great.
With that.
And Jeff, I see you from the rail trail here too, so I don't mean to discount you.
I'm a subcommittee
You're
of
subcommittee.
Park and Rec.
Mr. Chairman, my name's Carl Schrader, I'm the chairman of the Conservation Commission.
Welcome, Carl.
Thank you. And I guess we're here to discuss one of the most controversial pieces of swampland in the history of Georgetown.
I'm not sure, there's a lot of back controversy. For us, it's simply just help you guys out.
Essentially, for us, it really isn't controversial either. I mean, as it was just indicated, that this was part of a notice of intent filing with the Conservation Commission, and we agreed to accept this as mitigation for the notice of intent. And very routine for us, actually. We've done it many, many times for over many, many years. So, we looked upon it as just a standard SOP. In terms of the land itself, if you haven't been out there, it's 75% already under the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. It is very wet. If anyone has any illusions of, that it's nice flat land that could be resold or used in any shape, form, or fashion, that's just not the case. And regardless of who it would be under authority, again, 75% of the land is still under the control of the Conservation Commission because it's basically wet.
Mm-hmm.
So, from our perspective, it's only really suitable for passive recreation, which we normally allow anyhow. The Conservation Commission made its ruling as part of an order of condition months before it really came before the planning board, and they decided that they had some interest, and I'm not really sure how a plethora of other boards got involved in this somewhere along the way. But I believe the Concom was the only board that made official request that it be put under the care and custody of the Conservation Commission. And I think we can probably show, as far as our documentation in the minutes, that this was the process. And again, it's not unique, standard process. Again, anyone wants to take a look out there, I think we have some even photos we could forward you that it is wet. I would love to adjourn out there right now and see what you got. But again, there's very little upland in this parcel. And so to us, it just makes sense that it would normally come out of the Conservation Commission. And to me, it was kind of a surprise that there was all this interest in this particular parcel.
Yeah, I think the interest is more in the spirit of trying to do as much as we can with the properties that we have in town. So it's purely in good intentions, I'm sure, out there. And given the fact that it came very late to our board, right before town meeting, with just a couple days, and we didn't have a chance to really hear this conversation prior to it, I think that's why we modified the warrant so you could have this discussion tonight.
If I might, Mr. Chairman, I can chime in on that. With all the controversy and all the kind of the infighting going on, I think it was in the best interest to do what we did and then figure it out, and that's why everybody's here. So I think the process was the right thing for the selectmen to do after hearing a whole bunch of, almost
Yeah,
infighting.
right.
In all honesty, it was like, I think when we heard that particular article, all we heard from, I think, was just the conservation agent was the only one we heard from. We didn't hear from everybody else. And then all of a sudden, it was like this big
and
rumble going on in town
Right.
over this swampland.
Again, from our perspective, it was like, there wasn't a controversy because it was mostly swampland, and
Right.
it was like, well, of course, it's,
Right.
what else would it go to?
Right.
And I kind of led that charge to try to get a cool down period and then get everybody back in, and now we can really figure out what what really should happen.
It's just, if anyone would take a walk out there, it's not really usable, other than spending huge sums of money and filling and all kinds of crazy filings, and for anything else, it's just not particularly usable, other than for passive. And one of the requirements is we always insist upon is there is some level of public access, and we certainly always allow passive recreation on any parcel that we have. We wouldn't accept land if it didn't have public access to a roadway or some other parcel that the town already owned. We would never accept landlocked land that no one could get to. But again, that's from a passive perspective.
Right.
Right.
Mr. Chair.
So I'm going to, just for the audience, I'm going to let our board have some questions first, and then we'll get to anyone in the audience after, because I know some folks really want to speak. Go ahead, Stu.
So just adding background to how we got here, we had heard from, I thought it was planning, wasn't it planning that came in? George, was it you that came in, talk to us about this parcel originally?
I'm Parker of Clean Water.
Right.
Okay, you were discussing something with us about that, but, so we had one board in, and then when it hit the warrant article, I got pinged by 5 or 6 other boards, or 4 or 5, that were concerned about the property because it basically, the way that it was described to me from all the various boards was that this piece is a, what do you call it, the keystone.
Linchpin or whatever.
Yeah, the keystone to the greenway, to a potential water loop, at the end for connecting the water so we can get, the water flushed out correctly, and an extension to rail trail, and numerous other, things. So that's why, had people been that interested in it, I would have hoped that boards would have come forward before, and talked to the Board of Selectmen before we put it on the warrant. So that's what happened. There's 4 or 5 different boards that are interested in that property. It doesn't really mean that we can't all use the property, but it's just a matter of we're trying to figure out where we are, and ultimately, does it fall in Concom? Would it stay municipal or some other version?
Mr. Chairman, if I might add, the town also, a year or so ago, purchased a linchpin supposed property, Martell Way, as the second access into this greenway. Now, all of a sudden, that's put on the wayside, and now this becomes the issue. They're both wet. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be in an ideal world if you had a nice dry piece of land, but I think we're all aware that Georgetown is a particularly wet community.
Passive recreation, what is that definition?
Passive
What's allowed on passive
Well, passive
recreation?
recreation, I mean, you can hike, you can walk, you can mountain bike, you could, I mean, the DEP isn't too keen on it, but we allow, you can ride horses, from my perspective.
Okay,
Actually, believe it or not, even hunting is considered passive recreation.
okay. All right, okay, gotcha.
Questions, comments, gentlemen?
I think when we accepted it, the motion was for recreational purposes, without defining whether it was active or passive. And I think, that's a question for Mike, if after hearing everybody at some point in time, whether that's tonight or another meeting, we decide to make the change to either active or passive, or give control to, relinquish control, does that have to be another warrant article, or do we have the power to authority, not power, but authority, to go ahead and make that decision without having to go back to town meeting.
You have the authority, actually, the Conservation Commission has the authority by general law to accept donations of land,
Okay,
with the approval of the Board of Selectmen.
okay.
If you were to turn it over to the active management, say, the Parks and Recreation Commission, yes, that would require a town meeting vote.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Great. I know, in some of the conversations I have, it's, there's some future activity that may need to happen, and we'll talk a little bit about those needs going forward. But unless anyone has any questions, I'd like to.
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Just to go back, we've got our April 6 minutes in front of us, and that was sort of when this piece of land first came to us, I believe, to go on the warrant, and we had some discussion about it that night, and one of the things on there says, discussion if the land should be used for active or passive recreation.
Right.
It says, Mr. Fowler and Mr. Surface asked if the developer had a preference, which we were concerned about because of the people living in the area. And Mr. Farrell had stated that he did not. So that was, we did a lot of discussion April 6th on this, because it was sort of presented to us as the planning board and the conservation had made it some type of a stipulation, and it was also said that neither of them has the authority to do that. So that night was the night that we wrote this, or got this warrant article, I believe, the gist of it, and then we made some votes that night as to how to go forward with it. So, that's just to want to clear the air. We didn't have a lot of time to go through with this, and that's why a lot of boards didn't have a lot of time to come in front of us. That was April 6th, town meeting was less than a month away. So, we're doing the best we can, and so that's why we're having this tonight.
I have no issue with that. And when the attorney, Jill Mann, had presented the notice of intent to us as far as turning leaf, I mean, it was offered to the Conservation Commission as part of the mitigation of the project, and that was our understanding, from the get-go. And in fact, again, we wouldn't be interested in taking land or accepting land from a donation unless it would be going for some sort of passive. Even the land that we accepted as far as East Main Street in terms of that greenway, again, that was part of a notice of intent conservation hearing, mitigation for waivers. I mean, that's kind of the process we had used to acquire that property as well.
Carol, can you get us a copy of the order of conditions?
Excuse me?
Can you get us a copy of the order of conditions when you get a
Absolutely.
chance as well? That
Absolutely.
would be helpful, because that defines the initial spirit and intent, exactly what we.
Yeah, in fact, I don't think we could accept land if it, other than for
Yeah.
passive. I mean, if we say wanted to build a parking lot, we couldn't really use that as a mechanism, because one thing we're really prohibited from doing is taking land that really has a resale value type of thing, and in other words, people can't buy waivers.
Mhm.
So from our perspective, it's got to be in some sort of passive situation where it's not, we're accepting money, we're gonna turn around and sell it or use it for another reason, and that's why we would grant waivers in that sense, so.
Okay.
But absolutely, we can get you that.
Question to that, Mr. Chair?
Sure.
Well, even to that though, like when we, what's the one that the town got down at, by Wells Ave at the end of North Street? Something Farm, Driftway Farm?
Driftway Farm, correct.
Now, is that passive recreation?
passive,
Oh,
absolutely.
Okay, but we are allowed to put some type of a parking lot and entry into it.
We always insist upon that,
Okay, well,
absolutely.
but you just said that we wouldn't be allowed a parking lot, so we would
no,
be
no.
allowed some parking.
Even in this one, I think it goes back in the minutes, we mandated that they have some parking spaces
thank
for,
you.
I would never accept, even entertain again land unless there's public access with some means of parking. We always do that.
Okay, thank you.
Right. All right, let me open it up to the public. I know you've had your hand up for a little bit back there.
Yep.
Can you say your name and address for the record?
Yep, Lynn Grossstein, 16 Lisa Lane.
Hi, Lynn.
I am a butter to Turning Leaf. I've been to probably, I'd say 80% of the meetings. Been to the planning board, been to the Concom. I listened to everything that they were doing, as well as a bunch of other people that aren't even here. They wanted to be here, but we found out about this meeting a little too late. So, I had heard exactly what, the chairman of the Concom was saying. They did say they were going to turn it over to them, they did say all of that, I remember exactly that they said that. As an abutter, I don't ever remember it becoming anything but that from the meetings. When I heard that all of a sudden at the town meeting, which I wasn't able to go to, was all of a sudden different, it just really upset me that all of a sudden, how did this get changed? There's just so many things that really don't sound right to me. And for what I had seen, it was supposed to go to them. The developer, I had talked to him, they were gonna make a pathway to walking trails in the back. I made sure of it, cause I walk back there all the time. And I can tell you, a lot of it is wet, especially the parcel F. I walk there all the time. If I have to walk there, I can't walk in the spring, cause there's so much water, I can't pass. It's hilly, you can't walk there because of that. I mean, there's just so much of it that I don't understand why this is happening, cause it's a piece of land that is very small, you can't put fields out there, I don't know how you would,
Thanks, Lynn.
so.
Appreciate it. You had your hand up next?
I just wanted to add some more information about the mitigation, which is so important. May I see that?
Oh, for the record, would you state your name and
I'm
address?
Laura Refflinger, I'm on the Conservation Commission, 7 Furler Street. We're very concerned about the abutters down below this property. I believe we had a number of them at many of our conservation meetings. They spoke every time. Were experiencing a large amount of water encroaching on their properties. They were very concerned that the water would be increasing on their properties with this development. This is a picture that Mr. Curry took today, which shows that the top of the hillside has been completely clear cut, which even though their stormwater management says that they plan to not release any more water off of the site than was there before, I don't think that there's any way that the hydrology could not be affected when that entire site has been clear cut. Trees, what did you tell us once about how much water a tree will soak
About
up in?
1,000 gallons.
In how much time?
In a day.
In a day, 1,000 gallons, and all of
Full-size
those
tree.
large trees have been clear cut off of that hillside. So now this parcel F is the only barrier of water retention and protection of land, protecting the abutters down below. In my experience with the Concom, we've met a couple of families who've actually lost use of their property because of developments that took place above them that changed the hydrology down the hill. We had some people who had to leave town because they could no longer keep their horses in a waterlogged field after Bernay Way, and that large development went in there. So the parcel is wet, it's mainly in our jurisdiction as well, but part of our charge is to protect residents in the town from flooding and losing the use of their property due to changes in the environment. So I think that that's a very compelling case for it being in the management of the Conservation Commission. And I really appreciate you changing the warrant as you did, because I think it is important for us all to discuss it as it is. It was just kind of a shock to get there and find that it was different. So I'm glad we're having these conversations, but I do want you to know that the mitigation and the jurisdictional issues are very, very important to us. It's part of our job. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Harry?
Yeah, just, not a question, just, maybe a clarification or a focus of the picture that's being presented. This is not the Great Swamp. This is a 14.6 acre parcel of land. Of that, 9.6 acres is upland. That's not something that the planning board decides. That's something that's determined by your board in your determination. There are actually almost 2 acres, 1.89 acres, entirely outside of the jurisdiction, that 100-foot jurisdiction that you have in of the streams and the wetlands and all the resource areas. that's upland and outside the jurisdiction. Just wanna square that up for us, because it sounds like this is a very, very wet parcel to begin with.
Okay, so we don't know the property at some point, because we're gonna probably have to take a walk on it to
As I-
really
as I'd
understand it
indicated-
ourselves.
As I indicated, Mr. Chairman, I did say 75% was under the jurisdiction, which calculates out to that very number, so.
All right.
There is upland, there's over 9.5 acres of upland out of the 14.
Right.
In the
So,
jurisdiction
just so
of
that,
conservation.
yeah, absolutely. And this is one of the things that's a little bit ironic.
I don't
about
think I
this.
misspoke.
You did not.
So
You did
let's,
not.
let's do this, if I could get someone to represent the planning board as well. I'd like to hear some comments from planning if possible.
Could I show you a picture?
Mr. Chairman, give them a
Howard, you
letter
wanna go?
from the chairman. Packet.
Oh, right,
Oh,
right.
from Rob Lee?
Yeah.
I talked to him today too.
Yeah. I have it.
I have an email.
There's a letter from the
Tilly
chairman.
Okay.
heading to the- I only have it on my,
Okay. Would you state your name and record?
My
and,
name
address
is
for
Harry
the record?
Locatilia. I am the vice chair of the Georgetown Planning Board. The chairman was unable to attend this evening.
Which he has delivered
But he
as
sent something,
correspondence
right?
here, so I'll read the Cliff Notes version of that shortly, but go ahead. Harry.
I wish you'd read it now because I don't know what he's gonna say. We talked about this briefly at our last meeting and
Okay, so then I'll get through this real quick, and this is
Sort of.
for the record.
it was.
So, this is from, wrong one, Rob Hoover, who's the chairman of the planning board.
I believe he's writing it as a private citizen because it may not be reflective of the board.
and he does say that in his
Yeah,
final
on his last
sentence.
sentence, yeah.
He's only speaking for himself.
Okay, good.
All right, so I'll read it into the record. Dear Mike, first I would like to thank the selectmen for taking up this issue and getting everybody in the same room. Secondly, I'm sorry I can't be there tonight. You'll be in Chicago. In my place, I offered this short letter. Please know my planning board vote to dedicate parcel F to active recreation was based on what I understood at the time. To be clear, that vote is not the same vote as approving Turning Leaf subdivision, including a parcel F as open space for mitigation. I have since become aware of new information, and as a result have unofficially changed my planning board position, and these are my reasons why. One, both Conservation Commission and Planning Board accepted parcel F as mitigation for Turning Leaf subdivision approval. Regardless of what one may think about this greenbelt in parcel F, to know development for this parcel for active recreation is not consistent with what this parcel was originally meant for. Two, it appears as if Town Council's March 26, 2015 email addressed to you suggests Concom, and I quote, may have the right to insist that maintenance of parcel F as open space is a condition of the order of conditions it issued for the subdivision, although it might be prepared to prove this by reference to good evidence in the record. I suggest asking Concom if their meeting minutes, not order of conditions, prove this by reference to good evidence in the record. Three, I believe the issue is one of the active versus passive. Personally, I would consider my pedestrian bike path or trail to be passive in nature, and I am one confident Concom would see developed. That use is not an issue. Number four, extending a town water line is something Concom has already displayed in a willingness to see through. I believe back in 2005, 2007, West Street Fields and Parker River. They permitted such a project. That is not an issue. Number five, the issue is active versus passive. A road is active, and that is not consistent with what took place in the original Turning Leaf subdivision approval. Six, last but not least, the cost of the town for active recreation, crossings, roads, over this particular site will be exorbitant. This town needs to ask itself, how much more money do we want to pay for new active recreation versus taking care of what we already have in passive recreation? With regard to the future and trying to head off these types of issues before they get to this point, I offer this suggestion. I suggest to any town board involved in development of any town project to develop their project together with the planning board right from the beginning. I'm not suggesting that the planning board take over the project or the lead. I'm suggesting that the board is responsible for planning overall land development within this town to be part of the process at the very beginning, not at the end so that it all comes together. For town projects, you might think of it as a non-binding advisory board to the particular town project. If we did that, perhaps we could avoid a lot of these types of problems. Again, thank you for taking your time to discuss this issue, and remember, I am only speaking for myself. Thank you, Rob Hoover, 16 Chestnut Street, Georgetown, Mass.
Okay, and for the record, Tilly Evangelista sent an email as well. It says, Mike, the decision minutes of the planning board for Turning Leaf Development refers to the gifted land as open space, same as the conservation board decision. All throughout the process, there wasn't any voice even hinting of the possibility of fields being able to be established on this land because of so many wetlands on the parcel, including the access to the parcel. Designating this parcel to Park and Rec for fields would require a road crossing, wetlands, and would be very costly and probably would not receive the necessary permitting approvals by state and Concom. Plus, kids wouldn't be able to play in their rain boots, soccer, or baseball. At the 11th hour, when the process was close to completion and a memo for the selectmen on the planning board's agenda to proceed with the steps necessary to accept the gift, did the Park and Rec Department get mentioned by Harry L. to assign the parcel to Park and Rec. The neighbors also had no knowledge of this parcel becoming fields, and as abutters, they too would have some input as they attended many of the hearings. I'm forwarding this information because sometimes facts get abbreviated. Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I asked, since these last two things were read, that they, especially that one, since it's electronic, be entered into the minutes.
They'll be entered into the minutes. Great.
Do we want to read this one too, from a resident that's not, can't attend?
Sure. So, one last letter here. This is from Julie Nally from 19 Lisa Lane, Georgetown. I'll read this for the record as well. To whom it may concern, I'm not able to attend tonight's Selectmen's meeting. However, I'm very concerned about the agenda item regarding a decision regarding Parcel F, Turning Leaf subdivision, and its intended use. As a direct abutter of the Turning Leaf subdivision, I attended each planning board meeting during the application and eventual approval of the Turning Leaf subdivision. During this process, I expressed my many concerns about the additional road, including 2 cul-de-sacs and an extension road behind my house to Searle Street, traffic, safety, poor condition of existing roadways, and development impacting wetlands areas. The process was long and grueling, and I contend that there was a lack of professionalism and transparency given to the general public regarding intentions of some of the members of the planning board. However, ultimately the project was approved even though the original vote was against and quickly changed. Please check meeting minutes regarding this unusual protocol. One particular concern was the intended usage of Parcel F, which is also located behind my property. My understanding that it was to be maintained by the Conservation Commission as open space, not ever to be considered for use as an active recreational space. It appears that now this has changed. Additionally, I understood that this warrant was being considered as conservation land for a vote at town meeting. However, it was altered just before the meeting time to read as a warrant for recreation space. The sudden and unexpected, but critically important change was not communicated in the warrant article summary information shared with the public prior to voting. I understand that discussions have been ongoing regarding this decision, regarding the use of Parcel F. However, no abutters have been informed, nor have we sought out information, as we were led to believe it would remain open space. Please take these major considerations during your discussions this evening. Okay.
Where would you like to begin?
Harry, let's start with you. We asked you to come up and are you speaking on behalf of the board or yourself?
I'll speak on behalf of myself, and I'll try to maybe square some of this up. Just so everybody's aware of it. This is what Parcel F looks like. I don't know if you can show anything from your computers. I have a thumb drive if you want.
No.
But at any rate, this is what Parcel F looks like. Just wanted to point out that I understand that the Concom has their orders of conditions. They have their reasons for wanting mitigation. It's the reason they create the waivers that they create and they give. It's the mitigation because open space is being dedicated. Planning board does something very, very similar to that. We have conditions in our decisions as well. And what we did, if I could just read it to you, it's right from the decision that's recorded at the Registry of Deed. Recommend to the town of Georgetown's Board of Selectmen accept the applicant's gift for municipal purposes. a 14.6 acre parcel of land noted on the definitive subdivision. Approximately 9.6 acres of open space or upland areas, of which 1.89 acres are located entirely outside of the jurisdictional areas of the Conservation Commission and DEP. This was in our, we don't call them order of conditions, we call them decisions, definitive subdivision decisions. This open space gift from the applicant was something that we discussed. I'm sure you folks discussed it as open space. We also discussed it as open space. I think there's a little bit of miscommunication because the definition of open space is something that doesn't get developed. I mean, it doesn't matter. This is parcel F. No matter who's controlling it and whose management and control it's under, there isn't gonna be a Walmart anywhere here. Okay? Nothing's gonna happen here. What people don't recognize at this point is, and this is part of the Greenway. And this inside here is parcel F. It's the connection. Now, I can point to parcels on this Greenway, and Carl knows this very well, this is in the open space plan. Conservation parcel, park and rec parcel. Trying to do it backwards, it's hard. Sorry. This is all a conservation parcel. When the Greenway started, what was that, in 2003? No, I'm talking concept. I'm talking about when I was on Concom, when Laura was the agent, the agent's assistant, and we had this big map of the town with all the parcels, and Laura had all the strips of tape showing this Greenway. I know, it's horrible because I can't really show you, I'll pass it around, but I can tell you this. This down here is East Main Street, up here is Martell, up here is Jewett. And that's the idea. This is a way that you can walk through from one area. On your left-hand side, there's conservation parcels. On the right-hand side, there's park and rec, active recreational parcels. It goes all the way through and goes right out. And out here is the punch-out from Martell.
And if I may add, Mr. Chairman, unless they plan on building a roadway, again, the Conservation Commission wouldn't encourage any passive recreation and access into the property, as we do with every property. So unless the intent is to build a roadway, it does not need to be active rec.
Granted, given. The problem is this. We don't own all of these parcels. We're 4 parcels shy right now of this.
And how does,
And how can you get an engineer to say, here's where this road goes, here's where this parking lot goes, here's where this connection goes, here's where this soccer field goes? You cannot do it. An engineer will not do that on land that he knows the applicant doesn't own.
the town purchased Martell Way parcel for this access?
Absolutely, right here. And the whole thing is about options. By purchasing all the land, once you have it, then you can look and say, yes, this way in that you thought you might be able to get into, that's only gonna be a passive trail. This way in, however, you will have a driveway. Another way in, you might need a crossing. Will Concom give a crossing here? Will they give a crossing there? Will you get this land in the middle, some kind of an access? Because you're gonna have to drive in, because as it stands right now, with Lisa Lane, if you access by foot through parcel F, through a trail, you're gonna come out to map 16-4, map 16-6, and map 16-7, which are these parcels right here. But what's gonna happen is, on that Lisa Lane development, that the parking is on the new Lisa Lane. It's right down here on the new Lisa Lane,
Well,
right here. And it's.
So I hope the
three
public
spaces.
now knows why we took a halt on this, to
Yeah.
have this discussion.
From my
Simple
perspective,
at all.
this should have been illuminated during
Yeah.
the hearing process, and the public and the residents of Lisa Lane should have been made aware of all this during the process and being transparent. We
Okay,
accept land only for passive recreation as far as mitigation. We don't accept it for other kinds of projects. We really can't. We accept it for mitigation. We don't accept the land to sell or to redevelop and other types of capacities. But as far as even passive recreation, the perfect example is Camp Dennison, which you've all been. That is a passive recreation parcel. So a lot has been done down there, and that has all been done under passive.
So let me move on to a couple other committees and boards that have an interest in this as well. Let's start with Park and Rec itself. Is there anyone from Park and Rec who would like to speak? Thank you, Harry.
Sure. You can take my chair if you want.
Thank you, Carl.
My only concern on this parcel is two things. One is, it does cut down, it does now neck down.
Can you just state your name and
I'm Jim
address for the
DeMento,
record?
12 School Street.
Thank you.
It does neck down the active recreation. You will have active here, you'll have active here, you'll have no active in between. So it does take that away. That being said, it also takes out a right of way, whether you want to make this a sidewalk or a road into the two parcels we just purchased. We have two other places to get to those parcels. One is Walding Field, another one is Sawmill. The question is, why are you gonna push all the parking over to Sawmill, two places, potentially? We're talking 10, these parcels in the middle are gonna be developed years from now. We're talking about developing Martell Way and East Main Street, the two ends, and having recreational areas there. In the future, as we need more fields, we can develop the middle. So you're gonna, and it's like going through town. No one wants to go down Bailey Lane, no one wants to go down Pillsbury, no one wants to go down all these places, and now we're all jammed in going through the center of town, and at 3 o'clock you got a traffic jam. If we have little places where people can park and drop their kids off to these little places, 4 or 5, it takes the impact from the whole neighborhood. If you're on Searle Street now, you're gonna have to go all the way around to Walding Field Road or Sawmill Way to get your kid to a soccer game, where theoretically he could walk up that, whether it be a sidewalk or a road to go drop the kids off at a small parking lot and come back and get them. It just provides access to this active, passive recreational area. We're not talking about taking all the land, we're not talking about putting fields there, we're talking about just holding this piece of land aside until we know what we're doing. We're talking about all this green staying with the Conservation Commission. We're saying just, and I don't even want it. If the selectman wants to keep it in municipal, you can do that too. All we're trying to do is save options for the town, so we're not spending money on wetlands crossing and replications that we don't have to spend.
So, Mr. Chairman, I have a question then. So, the 1.8 acres, if we, meaning the Board of Selectmen, turn over this parcel to conservation, we turn over everything. We can't differentiate this 1.8 acres to make you happy. In other words, we couldn't split this and say, can we? That's my question. Can we legally say, under our, jurisdiction to say, look, conservation gets, the 75%, which we already have anyway, right? And that the rest of it stays, that 1.8 acres stays, with this board for future use. Can we do something like that, or do we turn the whole parcel over?
No, we control the parcel, we can.
Can we segment it like that? Can we split it?
Yes, because sometimes what happens is people give gifts to the town and they want dual purposes on those properties. So part of those properties would be conservation and part could be for other municipal purposes.
Might have to subdivide it.
Right, we'd have to subdivide it and call it parcel F1. I could say something, but I almost slipped. I almost said it. I almost said what you're thinking.
Again, Mr. Chairman, the issue of that you could actually modify our order conditions that was a lawful document.
They'll allow that? Okay.
Can I
'Cause
ask a question
You
to
can
that?
see, I'm a numbers guy. I'm not a
Can I see that?
land use person, but I'm getting there.
All right. I would love to see if I can get someone from the rail trail to come up and talk about this.
Can I
Jim,
speak to
thank you.
what Dave just spoke?
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
I think one of the things we need to define, as I'm following through this, is, and perhaps it's in our bylaws and Mike can get it for us, and that's what is open space, what is passive recreation, active recreation land, and recreation land, which is how we left it. We didn't say active recreation, we just took passive off. We felt that was the best move at the night, but I think perhaps for Mike or Janet to find out if we've got in any of these bylaws definitive things on this that are gonna help in the future to make a decision.
Well, if it helps, Mr. Chairman, I did ask the attorneys the night of,
Yes, I remember that. I knew
town
that question
meeting.
got asked somewhere.
I said,
yes.
if we take this under recreational use, he said it needs to stay recreational use. You can determine whether it's active or passive, but you can't now make it open space. You'd have to go to the legislature to change that. So no matter what happens, unless we wanna go to the legislature, this needs to stay recreational use. That's what I was told from our attorneys. So, to go open space at this point for this whole parcel, we'd have to go to the legislature to get a change. That's what, at least that's what Tom said. I don't know if that's been changed since, but, so it has to stay as recreational use, whether it's active or passive, that's what we need to determine.
Yeah, I don't think it's anyone's intent here to do anything more intensive than either active or passive recreation on that.
Well,
but-
there's some suggestion about open space, Mr. Chairman, and that wasn't mentioned, so I don't
Well,
know.
Well,
Mr. Chairman, we define passive as open space.
Right.
I mean,
Okay,
It's
that's
under
fine.
that sub-umbrella, so.
I thought there was 3 definitions versus 2.
Well, you
so-
have the umbrella of open space, and then you have all these subcategories, which are
Okay.
passive or active.
That's what I'd like
Yeah.
to see.
Yeah, I mean, for me, you know, personally, it's just making sure that for a couple of things. One is, I need to go back to, I guess, the master plan, because I don't see the big picture, and I see a piece of the big picture for all that green belt and that development, and I think we as a board need to go back to understand when it's all built out, and we have our green belt, and we have our active and our passive recreation, what does that look like? What would it like, what's the ultimate wish list look like, and the path to get there, which you guys have done a tremendous job getting so far. But I just don't quite get it. Now remember, you're talking non-land, you know, use skies up here, so it's gonna take a little bit of help for us to understand that. But I do wanna have the rail trail representative come on up and kinda give a perspective as well. Let me just finish with this gentleman and we'll come back to you. Would you state your name and address for the record?
I'm Jeff Wade, 27 Nelson Avenue here in Georgetown, Chair of the Rec Path Committee. Also on other committees too, but we won't get into those right now. The reason we're here is we have a main rail trail going from Boxford down by Camp Dennison on up all the way up to past Wells Avenue and up to Byfield. And that's really the main thrust of our committee. But coming off of that trail, there's other potential trails that we've talked to the Park and Rec committee about. One being the branch that is currently being developed by Bradford and Groveland, and Georgetown is the third town within that. It goes on all the way over to Haverhill, 125, right up by the river. That's going to be a great trail too. So we're keeping our options open on that and trying to get some information on that. The second one is a power line that comes off of the main trail. It's in between, it's just north of Mill Street. There's a power line that comes off perpendicular to that and goes all the way through town and ends up over at the Greenway. And Jim Demento came over to me and had discussed that many, many years ago. I can't remember how far back that was, but God, it's quite a few years ago.
I was a much younger man then.
Yeah, we all were. And so, and that's in fact the end of that power line trail would be the one going through parcel F. So I, like many others, did not hear about any of the parcel F or anything going on until the last second. I could not make the town meeting. I was out of the country at that point, but I do have interest in it. It is truly for passive, being a rec path, passive recreation. But I do know that with all of our trails and different locations, we're always challenged with parking. And in all the trails, you have to have parking to get the state and federal funding for that. So, and you have to have a beginning and end point. The Greenway is a fantastic end point, but it does need parking. I'm not sure where it would be. We have not investigated this. I'm not saying that this is the place for parking, but I'm saying that on the trails you have to have parking. And my experience with the parking is we're not talking about an American Legion Park parking lot. What we're talking about is a few parking spaces here and there for at least our use. You know, it's not a lot, and for instance, the Raleigh Georgetown pathway out there, you know, has a little bit of a parking area. That's a perfect type of thing for us. You know, just a few spaces, and allow people to get up there and get out on their bikes or get out and just walk. We're not only for bikes, but we're walkers too. So that's what interests us, and we want to keep our options open. I think it's important to keep your options open and to understand what's out there. And you said something, Phil, that was very, very important. Is that we have a lot of different thoughts in this town of open space, recreation space, both active and passive. And I know I'm also a member of the Open Space Committee.
Yep.
And really have not seen, I'm also an architect, and we also do urban planning. When you're doing urban planning, you really start to take a look at the whole and come up with a master plan. And from that, cities and towns and counties and states can actually act upon it and know that any decisions they make, they go back to the master plan to see if it makes sense. It's a guiding light. It's a way to really work yourselves. And I have not seen that in Georgetown master plan, as in really how much recreation space we actually need today or in 10 years or 20 years, how much passive, where's the best places. Right now, we're kind of in a little bit of a catch-up mode or almost a free-for-all. When we get land, we go get it, because it goes so fast, you better get it or else you'll never have it again. And I think that's good, but I think there has to be an overall plan to bring us all together so we really can truly say that this parcel does not fit into the mold, therefore it's XYZ, or it does and it's ABC. So that's my thoughts.
Harry, I'm assuming you want to discuss the master plan?
No, I wanted to sit here because Jeff said he
I'm
was
supposed to
a
hold
member
this
of
up.
the Open Space Committee, which is appointed by the Concom.
Yeah.
I'm also one of the members. There's one other member, Peter Burns, and I believe Laura.
Yep.
Laura is the fourth member. The fifth member has left the town. He's down in Florida, enjoying open space down there. But and I'm here on open space, as far as that master plan that you're talking about, there's such a thing called an open space and recreation plan.
Yeah, I saw that.
We've had iterations of that. I don't know where that is as far as being approved. I know we sent it a few months ago.
Concom is reviewing it.
You're currently reviewing it. And when's that coming out? When's that gonna be? How does that work? That goes to,
When we're
I'm sorry, I should be going through you, my apologies.
Thanks,
My
Harry.
understanding is that gets approval from the Concom, then goes out for public comment for 30 or 45 days? 30 or 45 days?
Yes.
30? And then it gets, public comment comes back, and then it gets sent to EOEEA
Correct.
for their approval. That's all gonna happen. That's a timeline that we'll have to deal with later. Can I say, as a planning board member, as one member of the planning board, when we were talking about this open space, this rail, this easement here is not an easement. Parcel F has the underlying fee in that
So
land.
We'll take
So-
it by right.
So we now own that, as opposed to getting all the easements on the rail trail. When I heard that, and I think the minutes probably reflect it, I'm sure everybody remembers it, you can watch it on the videos. When I heard that, that was what made me vote for the waivers that were granted to Turning Leaf, because there were many.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna try to wrap this up shortly, but I wanna take the last few comments. We're not going to settle this tonight. There's two things that we've gotta, discuss. One is statutorily, do we have a right to even do anything with this beyond what was, discussed in the, order conditions in the meeting minutes and the intent from the landowner? And the second is, if we do have this discussion, I'd prefer to have a public hearing so we can hear more from a butters at some point, but, go ahead.
I just have a question. the land, it just sounds like there's gonna be parking lots. How are you gonna get out there? Because the development has only like a certain easement that is for a walking trail to get out to the back part. And then that's between lot 18 and 19. And that's the only thing I know of on that new development that you're gonna get out to the back land. So what are they thinking of? How are they gonna get back out there?
Is this related to that comment?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll
come to you next.
The north part of the Greenway, Martel, would be a major parking lot for everybody in town. The south part of the Greenway, which is East Main Street, will be a major parking lot for everybody in town. People on Searle Street, Lisa Lane, and those things who wanna walk through, you're not walking through someone's backyard, you'll use that easement. Whether that be a sidewalk or a parking lot is not determined yet. Wallingfield Road itself, which is the west side of the Greenway, Wallingfield Road and Sawmill Way, you wanna walk your dogs, you'll have a legal right to go through a strip. Now, whether that's a parking lot or a road, or just a turnaround, we don't know yet. But we'll have two town parking lots at either end, and hopefully potential places where people can drop off kids, but neighborhood places, Sawmill Way, Wallingfield, they're both deeded right accesses. Lisa Lane is another deeded right access. That's all we're trying to protect. Now, my parents lived right next to the American Legion. There was no deeded way access to my parents' property, but 50 people went through every day because there was no deeded access. So there's people on that street. Would you rather have people running through your backyard in the middle of a cookout, as they happen
This
every
is
day?
deeded access to be able to get out to the land. We are able to get out to the land. There is an walking path for Concom to go out there.
And that
was in the whole.
And we want to
abutters
preserve
thing.
that to get to the active recreational.
Okay, so this is all theoretical right now, so
Right.
George, go ahead.
Yeah, I think what the abutters
And would you
don't-
just state your name
I'm
and
George
address for the...
Kaminsky, 45 Old Jacobs Road.
Thank you.
I think what the abutters don't know is that the developer granted a 50-foot wide easement across parcel 18 and 19 in December.
What?
Yeah, Attorney Lee granted a 50-foot to right to parcel F.
Before the deed, I can explain that a little bit.
Okay.
Sequence, before the deed was actually handed over to the town,
Yes.
the developer had every right to do this, deeded a 50-foot wide access easement that sits on top of the 20-foot access easement that was approved in the plan for us. We have a 20-foot. The landowner, two landowners were granted a 50-foot wide access. Okay?
That's
It
coming
goes
off of
across.
Lisa Lane into this
Comes off of
blue
Lisa
area right
Lane.
here?
Yes, you're actually seeing it right there. Yep. Curves, it's double wide.
Okay.
It now leads to there. There's, that access easement that was granted actually led to the two parcels we just voted to purchase.
Got it.
So it's irrelevant.
Okay.
Right, we basically protected.
Gotcha. George, let's go.
Yeah, just comment some of the other comments. The spur that Jeff was referring to, all the parcels would need to be purchased. There's like 8 parcels from North Street to this parcel F. So, because they're all, it's not a railroad like the railroad owns it and allows easement. This is the opposite. So we would have to acquire all that. We'd have to go across a 1,500-foot wetland swamp called Spruce Pond. So you can see the economic feasibility that Rob Wu was mentioning in his letter starts to arise when you start talking about getting parking down the parcel F. That starts that up. But the other comment, I was asked by the abutters to evaluate some of the wetlands, and so I only went to really one Concom hearing. I've been involved off and on with the Greenway, though. I think what really spoiled this Greenway was when it was developed. And I think once it was developed, kind of all bets go off the table. Then you have to defer to what the abutters are worried about. Their environmental concerns, their runoff concerns. So, all these plans to talk about what we can possibly do with parcel F, and I made this clear to Jimmy and Harry's, I defer to the Concom. If they feel they need to protect the abutters, that's more important than anything else. Then I gotta go along with that. If they wanna leave a partial easement, for water or municipal purposes, then that's up to the Concom. So I think you guys really gotta defer, and, if we need an easement, just to get over the other side, that's up to them, you know, because that was in their order of conditions and went to them first. You know, I know there's been, the grand plans was to maybe connect a road from East Main Street over to all these parcels, but, you know, I went walking out there, you know, I had to take, Harry and Jimmy said, no, it can't be done. I had to take the agent over the other day. I said, how are we gonna get over it? Oh, you know, so
Okay.
I looked at the possibilities, and I saw that 40-acre parcel as probably the prime playing field area, but it got developed, and so, like I said, you gotta defer to what
Okay.
protects them.
All right. Jim, last comment, and we're gonna close this up, 'cause-
Yeah, I mean, Billy Lane was developed, we didn't get anything out of that. Camp Dennison was developed, we got nothing out of that. And these are cases where we voice, we
Who's
really-
we?
The recreational people in town, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Ogden bought the land next to Camp Dennison, we voiced, well, maybe that's a future place for recreation, we didn't get any of that. Driftwood Farm came along, well, we really need recreational land, cause we're on West Street, we gotta get off West Street, we didn't get any of that. Morehouse's land came, let's put that as a future place for recreational land, because we gotta get off West Street, we didn't get that. They now hammer us on West Street, and this is a recreational greenway, we said we need recreational land on this greenway since 2003. And as parcels keep on coming up with purchasing, but we need access to them, and they keep on taking, we have to leave those access points open. It's good, because a future town, we're gonna be right where we are now when I started in 1991 with no additional recreational fields.
Okay, I'm gonna end this now. We're not gonna settle this tonight. I think that,
I may make just one comment, Mr. Chairman.
I'll give you the-
The Concom is not taking land, these are part of hearings, any board is open to procure land if it would like, that's my comment.
No, I understand the intent behind the comment. It's, the purpose is we just may not have enough active recreational land to sustain growth in the future. Harry, I'm gonna close this now.
Got a question.
Let's close this down. You can see us or whoever you need to after Harry. So, I think we need to do two things. One is, again, if you can help us with the meeting minutes and the order of conditions, because it may all be a moot point at that point. If we feel we have some flexibility with that, then that's a different conversation. Then we would probably consider having some sort of a public hearing with all the boards to help educate us in the public and hear more input from the abutters. Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
We do have the order of conditions.
Okay, I haven't read through them and seen them. We'll study those and I guess get a legal opinion a little bit deeper. But there's all sorts of other stuff I need to understand as well. If we have I just don't want to handicap us for the future if we go down a route. That's all.
That's the, from the order of conditions, sir.
Okay.
That's the one statement about the open space.
Great.
In the order of conditions from the.
Okay, and
That's
the meeting minutes would be helpful as well, because that will help me understand the intent. So Mike is telling me we have all that stuff, so we as a board will take a look at that. All right, thank you. We're gonna move on to our next agenda item. If you guys are gonna clear the room, I'll give you 2 minutes.
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you very much for all you attending. Appreciate it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Excuse me, the definition of active.
I just wanted to try and clear up, what
Okay,
would come under open space was one thing.
Nice to meet you, Nick.
Is open
I've
space.
never met you, but there's so many new faces.
Recreation, is that a
I
classification
used to
by
be,
itself?
I'm on the open space committee, I'm on the planning board.
I have it right here.
But, well, it's all,
Passive.
it's a mingle. I don't know if you, I don't know.
Is open space?
Yeah, and it's walking, jogging, trails, arboretum use, park benches, gazebos, similarly passive enjoyment. One thing it's not is land shall be kept open or natural in a state and not be built for recreational use or development for accessory uses such as parking or active recreation.
Got it.
But they don't define active or passive recreation in any of our bylaws.
Okay. All right, let's move on here. Our next Order of business under old business is the ratification of the union contracts for fire, police, signal operators, DPW, and clerical employees. All right. So, Mike, everything's good?
Yes, it took us quite a long time to get to an agreement. When it came down to the nub, at our last meeting, I indicated that we would not be offering any retroactive pay if it wasn't decided by town meeting.
Right.
And we got a ratified contract by them. And this is the result. It's a memorandum of understanding. We'll break it down into a new contract.
Yep.
But basically, they've agreed to what all the other two unions agreed to, 1.5% for 3 years. And this one would be retroactive. It's the retroactive cost is about $7,500 this year.
Okay.
The only other, significant changes, if you will, things that weren't there in the last one, the dispatchers currently only get a premium for third shift. It's a 2% premium shift differential. Both police unions get shift differentials for second and third. So we agreed to a 1% shift differential for second shift and then from 2 to 3% for third shift. Since there's only one person on every night and every second shift, it's rather insignificant amount. And one thing that looks like it, is a major change. The highway department, we agreed to pay double time for those specific holidays listed. And according to Peter, it's a very rare occasion that it has ever occurred in the past. So we felt it was really not a big economic issue to grant that.
Just a question on that, is that in other contracts, or are we opening a door there?
I don't know, I'd have to get back to you on that. I can't answer that, Gary, I'm sorry. I'll have to get back to you.
Yeah, Gary's point is pretty important, because what it does is set a precedence for all the other agreements out there too. As they're saying, they get this, we don't
Right.
get that,
Right,
they
right.
get this, we don't get that, so,
I-
not that we wouldn't, we're against it, we just,
Yeah,
let's.
I tend to think it's already there, but I can't say that for a fact.
Okay.
And then we also boosted the highway department's special detail pay by $1 an hour.
So,
Once again, they don't do very many special details.
What constitutes special versus a regular detail?
Outside the town function, like if they have to go and have some utility is working in the right of way, and they need somebody there to make sure they stay in the right of way, or identify the area. Once again, it doesn't happen very often. It's more likely they'll have a police detail than a highway detail. But that was one of those things that the police have,
Yeah,
and they want it.
yeah.
So, Mr. Chairman, for clarity, this covers dispatchers in the highway department.
And 2 clerical positions in the town hall.
Which are, Mike, do
The assessing clerk and the finance clerk.
So
Actually,
is-
the positions, there are 2 finance clerks. And I'm not sure either one of them are members of the
So, is that,
bargaining unit.
is that an assessor's clerk, or is it assistant assessor?
Well, it's both.
Okay. If those positions were to be filled, either one of those job descriptions, that would
It is a
constitute
union
this.
position, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I did find in one of the contracts that the title was changed, but it never changed in the opening clause, where it still lists assessor's clerk as member of the union. It's the organizing clause.
Mhm.
But there's a later amendment that does specifically say the assessor's clerk will now be assistant assessor.
There we go. Thank you.
Okay. So,
Union has already ratified this, I think I already said that.
gotcha.
If I may, Mr. Chair, we're getting a little deep into this, and typically we do this in executive session, and I wonder if, we weren't prepared to sign this tonight, I don't think.
No, it wouldn't be a I guess it would be.
Yes, we're looking for ratifications. They ratified it.
I can't remember the last time we discussed this, was it, how recent?
It's a while back, right?
It hasn't, our position hasn't changed for a long time. We came back to you and said, this is what they're asking for, and we wanted to know your limits, and we stayed within those limits.
I'm just saying, I didn't wanna get too deep in open session, cause some of I think our questions are leading into.
So, would it be so Mike, would we be within our jurisdiction to have an executive session on this contract?
Yes.
Do you guys wanna have an executive session after our meeting this evening? Oh, I guess we have to post it, right?
No, I don't think so.
Not if, no, it can come under,
This one right here.
Items not reasonably anticipated by the chair 48 hours in advance of the meeting?
yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I think we have we have a staff and we have a town administrator for a reason. To me, this seems pretty reasonable. I don't see anything here that I'm not prepared to give a vote of confidence on. The union's ratified it. Mike has worked with legal counsel. Mike's worked through this. We've talked in the past about town administrator and the personnel director taking on more roles. Well, here it is. To me, I think if we take this to executive session now, I think it's micromanaging. So I'm ready. I'm prepared to make a motion and vote on it.
The police chief and the highway director were actively involved in the negotiations for this as well.
Well, if you wanna do that.
I'll make a motion that we ratify the union contract, police signal operators, DPW clerical employees, contract member of understanding agreement as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to accept this memorandum of understanding as presented, and a second. Any further discussion?
Just to let you know, I'm gonna abstain because I would like more information on the question that I had asked earlier. Without having that, I'm not prepared to vote on this tonight.
All right, any other discussion?
Well, no, I was gonna ask the same thing. We don't really know how this impacts other areas.
Can you look that up real quick, Mike, while we're moving on to something else?
Yeah, I can go downstairs. I don't have online access to the other contracts, but I have them downstairs. So I can go pull those as quickly as possible.
Why don't we do that? We'll go through the minutes while you pull that, because I want to make sure that if we have the chance to ratify this with as much support as possible, I'd prefer to do that.
We do have a motion and a second, so
Yep.
we can hold the vote?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. If you guys would help get through these, approving these minutes, that'd be great.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve April 6, 2015 minutes as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from 5/4/15. Any discussion?
No, 4/6/15.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chair, as I wasn't involved in any of these discussions, I'm just gonna abstain.
Fair enough. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 I move to approve April 28, 2015 as presented.
Second.
Okay, this includes, well, we have a motion and a second to approve 4/28/15. This any discussion?
Yes. On page 3, Mr. Chair. I'd like to add, let's see, it says, second paragraph from the bottom, the one above, where Mr. Lacy is stating some comments. And we're in discussion there with Mr. Lacy, and then it says that Mr. Fowler stated that he wanted the fund with savings from health insurance. And that looks like it's relating to the sentence prior. Unless I'm misreading, we were talking priorly about the senior center, and what I was talking about the funding was, I believe, the OPEC. So perhaps if we could just add that discussion went to OPEC. Am I getting my words right? It was,
OPEB.
other post-employment.
Other OPEB.
OPEB,
Yep.
okay, OPEB. I believe that's what we're on, and that I was talking about the savings that we got in healthcare.
So how would you
Mr.
like?
Lacy had stated, if I
But this-
remember
but
right,
this-
Mr. Chair, that finance hadn't approved that 15,000 that we had put in
Right.
at the meeting before.
The only thing is, there is no savings from OPEB. What we were saying was, the savings that we derived from the ability to do plan design, we wanted to use a portion for that, or some of that for OPEB.
I don't think that came from me then.
Yeah, cause that, what you're saying is kinda two different things. There is no savings from OPEB. There's savings from plan design that we wanted to fund OPEB with.
Yes, but I was just trying to
Right.
say that the discussion went to OPEB.
Oh, okay.
And we were discussing, I believe, possibly, I haven't seen them, I'm just going, I don't have the ability anymore to go and watch our meetings. But I believe we were discussing that $15,000 that we'd put on the warrant article.
Right.
And that's was what that was about, so, I'm just saying, the way it's written right now, it looks like we're still talking about the school, and so, if perhaps Janet can figure out what to add there, and we can approve these at a later.
If you, yeah, let's do that. I don't wanna waste any time then.
I think we were swerving between both topics.
Well, yeah, we
You know
had
what I
Jim
mean?
Lacy
Yes,
here, yes,
exactly.
and we were, but.
Yeah.
All right, will someone withdraw their motion?
So moved.
Withdraw my second.
All right, we'll table that. Okay,
Mr. Chair, I move May 4th, 2015 minutes for approval as presented.
I'll second.
motion and a second on the meeting minutes for 5/4/15. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Abstain.
One abstention. Okay. All right, let's see. As we wait for Mike, we'll go down here. Well, we have Doug here. That makes it very convenient for us. The Memorial Day observation letter from the American Legion. Doug, would you be so kind, if you would, read your letter, or the letter from your letter as the commander of the American Legion?
And as soon as I find it in the packet, I'll thank you, sir. Georgetown Board of Selectmen. The Georgetown Renee J. Gagnon American Legion Post, number 211, and Veterans of Foreign Wars Post, number 7608, invite the Georgetown Board of Selectmen and all residents of Georgetown to participate with us in the observance of Memorial Day, to be held on Monday, May 25th, 2015. The Selectmen's proclamation will be placed in the ceremonial agenda for Harry Murch Veterans Park. The schedule of events leading up to the commemorative march are as follows. Thursday, May 21st at 6 o'clock, there will be placement of flags to mark veterans' graves at the Harmony and Union cemeteries. will meet at the Harmony Cemetery. I have an addition to this.
Sure.
On Saturday, May 23rd, the American Legion will be holding its annual Poppy Drive, and the locations will be Theo's, 2 hours at Crosby's, the Georgetown Building Supply, and then out by Dunkin' Donuts.
Great.
Monday, May 25th, the morning ceremonies for the 3 graveyards. We will meet at Georgetown Park and Ride at 7:30. Bus will leave at 7:45 a.m. Monday, May 25th at 9:30, we assemble at the Georgetown High School for the commemorative march. At 10 o'clock a.m., the commemorative march will begin. The route will be from the Georgetown Middle High School to the Public Safety Building, then to the Civil War Memorial, and then Harry Murch Veterans Park. Following the ceremonies, refreshments and food will be served for all participants at the VFW post number 7608 on Andover Street. On behalf of the VFW and American Legion, Douglas W. Dawes, American Legion Commander.
Terrific. Thanks, Doug. Okay, who is going to be able to attend? You're coming, I'll be there as well. Would you, read the proclamation? I know you're out of town. Are you out of town? Are you joining? You're still, you'll be there. Okay. All right, well,
Well, whatever, we guys figure it out when we get
communicate.
there, yeah.
Okay. All right, terrific.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Sure.
I'd like to add one other thing. Recently, the veterans organizations partnered with the Georgetown Electric Light Company and with the flag program. We have purchased some new flags. It'll be an ongoing process. And the Electric Light Company has also considered the safety of us, of the aging veterans, so that we're not climbing 17-foot ladders on East Main Street up a phone pole. So today they went out and placed all the flags
Looks great.
from like Elm Street into the
Nice.
center, up to Richdale's, to the post office in Pleasant Street.
Nice.
So I have a big thank you for the Electric Light Company for stepping up, and Manager Dave Schofield and the Electric Light Commissioners.
Great. So, Gianna, I'm not sure if you know the answer to this, but maybe Mike will. We, so as I serve on the Essex County Veterans Board, a couple things while we're talking about veterans here. One, we are in the process of interviewing for a new Veteran Services Officer. The gentleman who was serving in that has taken on a new position with the Massachusetts Environmental State Police. So that has been posted and is out publicly for the selection process. But I was reminded by the board that we have not submitted our expenses. I guess 75% of the costs of the flags that go on the graves of veterans get reimbursed by the
Should be
state.
reimbursed, right.
So can you just look in to see where we are with that? 75% of the cost of the flags that the town incurs, and I'm not sure where that cost comes from, to be honest with you, whether it's from
Well, I believe that the veterans organizations, VFW expressly, receives like $1,300 a year for Memorial Day, where the cost of those flags comes from that amount of money.
Okay,
They're the little grave marker flags.
okay.
Does that money come to the town or go directly to VFW?
It goes to VFW through the town. It comes out of the town budget, I believe. And
Yeah, so if you could just look into that.
that's what's 75% reimbursable.
That's right. So I know we have not submitted our invoice. I was reminded of that, so.
Does the VFW do South Byfield?
No, South Byfield is now taken care of, I forget the gentleman's name, but he was hired, he lives in Newbury, but he was hired to take care of the veterans' graves, the sites with the flags.
Okay, and he's doing both the cemeteries?
He does South Byfield. He doesn't do Byfield Parish Church,
Okay.
the old.
Oh, okay.
All right. I'm going to read a letter from Fire Chief Beardsley. This is a formal letter to the Board of Selectmen regarding his retirement, his upcoming and pending retirement. To the Board of Selectmen, gentlemen, at this I wish to submit my formal announcement of my intentions to retire as your fire chief effective 11:59 p.m. Monday, August 31st, 2015. In August, I will turn 65 years old and will have to take the mandatory retirement from active fire duty. Even though this action is a mandated function, it is still not an easy task to pen this letter. I have spent the past almost 49 years in some form of active firefighting duty, beginning with my roots in suburban Philadelphia, through to working in Nassau County, New York for 10 years before moving to Boxford and joining there in 1985. Coming to work in 2008 as Georgetown's first full-time career fire chief presented some exciting challenges in reshaping the fire department. I can look back with great satisfaction, comfort, and knowledge at not what I accomplished, but at what others accomplished, because without the energy and dedication of the call firefighters of this town, nothing would have occurred. As well, I'd like to extend my deepest thanks to my family, and especially my wife, for being so understanding and for putting up with the endless long days and many missed family occasions. Although I will be leaving the active duty scene, I'm very blessed and fortunate to still be able to retain my skills, continuing to teach the future generation of firefighters through my work at the Massachusetts Firefighting Academy and Bunker Hill Community College. As I close this phase of my active duty career, I look forward to remaining in touch with many of the friends I've made while in Georgetown. The residents and business owners of this town should sleep and do their work with great peace of mind, knowing that they have an outstanding fire department. To you, the Board of Selectmen, as well as all the different departments, boards, and committees I've worked with over the years, I extend my sincerest and deepest thanks for your support of the fire department and myself during my tenure as your fire chief. Best wishes, Chief Al Beardsley. Chief Al Beardsley. So, well, this is no way, shape, too early to say goodbye. We will have plenty of opportunity to support him in his exit of the town and thank him for all the work. So we're not going to start that necessarily tonight. It's just basically formally telling us he's got to go and not at his own accord. Okay?
So, Mr. Chair, has there already been a process set in motion for the replacement of Chief Beardsley?
There is, and I think when Mike gets back, if he can do, I'll ask him to give us an update on the process and specifically where we are and what our role is in that for you.
If I may, there was one other thing regarding Memorial Day.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Which I got a letter in the mail today from the Pembroke School. And the Pembroke School has had a tradition over the past few years of having a Memorial Day event. I'd like to use this time to invite the veterans of the community to attend that. It's Friday, May 22nd at 9 a.m. And it's usually a pretty good thing. The kids play, they have band selection that they play, and they do honor the veterans. So I just wanted to get that out, because I think we got the letter, it was a little late.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Well, Mike is getting himself back together here. Let's see what else we've got. We've got a letter of resignation from Mr. Dawes, from the Board of Registrars. Doug, why don't you just share with us a little bit of why?
Okay, I was, previous to deciding to run for selectman, I had joined the Board of Registrars. And because I was successful in my bid for the selectman, I can't be on that board and this board at the same time. So I tendered my resignation the day after the election results came in, and then I was sworn in as a selectman. And as it happened, Representative Mira was in Town Hall. I took my opportunity to take a political photo with him.
You got your selfie?
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, so I had to resign from that board, so there wouldn't be a conflict.
Doug, we accept your resignation from that board.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see, what else we got here?
Peanuts.
Let's talk, there's a request from the Kiwanis Club. All right, this is a letter from Bill Fabry, who is representing the Kiwanis Club of Georgetown. Hi Janet, my name is Bill Fabry and I currently serve as Secretary of the Kiwanis Club of Georgetown. We would like to request permission from the Board of Selectmen to hold a Peanut Day in Georgetown Square to raise money to continue our missions of giving back to the town. This would entail us soliciting cars for a donation in return for a bag of peanuts. We would wait for the red light and then hand the drivers a bag of peanuts labeled with the info of the Kiwanis. They're roasted peanuts, shelled, lightly salted, and hermetically sealed, brightly colored 3/4 ounce bags. Thank you. And a list of the typical Kiwanis projects on the back, packed in 100 bags per carton. In hope they would return a donation of any amount they felt reasonable. We are looking at Saturday, June 6th as the date. We would like to do this. Could you please let us know if this is something we can do? Thank you in advance for your assistance, and please let me know if you have any questions or concerns. Sincerely, Bill. Okay. Mike, I assume that we have no issues. These guys have done many projects in the past in town, and this Peanut Day should be as standard as everything else, right?
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, we make a motion that we approve a Kiwanis Club request to hold a Peanut Day in Georgetown Square on Saturday, June 6th. Do we know, did he give us approximate time, or is it just
I don't have
most of
time.
the day? June 6th.
Okay, need a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve this request from Kiwanis Club of Georgetown. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right.
Who made the second?
Me too.
Okay. Mike, are you prepared to go a little further on our discussion with the contract?
No, Janet is,
Still looking.
she's gonna find them.
Okay, then why don't we use this time, if you could give us an update then on the fire chief selection process. I did
Sure.
read the letter from Chief Al Beardsley to us with his notice of intent to retire
Yes,
from
and
that position.
so the position, Al is, he can work through the end of the month of his 65th birthday. So,
August 31st.
yes, and he has opted, I think he's told the selectmen of that.
Mhm.
So the new chief would start September 1. We've posted the position in-house, as we're required to do. We have advertised the position in the Massachusetts Municipal Association website and the New Hampshire Municipal Association website. And we ran an ad in the Lawrence Eagle Tribune, which covers Merrimack Valley and southern New Hampshire as well. That was a 3-day ad. Thus far, we've had 7 responses. We have, well, I shouldn't, I'll just leave it at that. There were 7 responses thus far. I asked the fire chief to recommend a 3-chief panel to do a professional review of the candidates. And he has suggested that, and he's talked to them, and they're willing to do it. Chief Ronald Giovanacci, he's the chief in Topsfield, which is a combination department, full-time and 25 part-time firefighters. Chief Frank Twist of Middleton, they are also a combination department, and they run an ALS transporting ambulance service, which I felt was important.
Great.
And the third chief is the recently retired chief of North Reading. His name is Chief Harris. They're a larger professional department. So I think we've covered all the bases in that respect. And I think I mentioned to you, and I probably passed to you via email, once the applications come in, and we have a May 31st end date coming pretty quickly, we will look at and in the ad and in the posting, we posted the minimum requirements for the job. So we'll review all the job submissions, and anybody who meets all the minimum requirements, otherwise there wouldn't be minimum requirements, we plan to send them a 5 question essay questionnaire and ask them to respond to it with no more than 1-page answer for each of the 5 questions. I've found in the past that actually serves as a weeding out process, because a lot of the people, for instance, we've had across the country ads, responses. So, those guys might be just fishing, and when they see they have to do some work to qualify for the position, they often don't, they self-select themselves out. And then once we review, I don't know if one of the selectmen wants to be on the review committee, but myself and Al would review the essays, and from their answers then pick X amount of people that would come in for an interview with the chiefs. Chiefs would just say yay or nay, they're qualified to be a chief. We do ask them to rank their choices 1, 2, 3, and then sometimes they'll say, there's only one, and at that point, it would be up to you to start the process over again, or to widen it, change the minimum requirements. I think they're fairly standard, the minimum requirements.
Mike, can I just take a step back for a second?
Sure.
So, these, once you get in review and weed out or in the essays, I guess, that would then further qualify them to interview with the chiefs, is it a number of finalists you're gonna send to that interview board will send to the Board of Selectmen from there?
Unless you want to hold, a citizens panel or any other. Once they come to you, it has to be in public.
Right.
This is a copy of the essays.
You have another one
You
of
have another
these
one?
job descriptions, Mike? Neil's only 4.
Yeah, take mine, I'll get
there
a
it is.
copy.
Oh, he's got it right there.
Okay, so let me ask the board then, gentlemen, what would you like to do? I would like to hear your opinion, if you would like to be part of the final selection process and interview in public the finalists that are sent up to us from this interview board.
No, I think you should all do that. It's just if one of you want to serve on a screening committee to see who goes forward to the select.
Okay, so is that screening committee, is that part of the interview process, or is this a separate committee, you want another layer between
After the chiefs
interview?
tell us yes or no,
Yep.
There should be a screening committee.
Yep.
And right now, it'd be myself and Chief Beardsley, and I'm asking you if one of you want to be part of the screening committee, or do you want to add additional citizens to that screening committee? You know, or you could do both. One of, you know, one or two. I don't recommend that, but, you know, I would
I mean, in the
say-
past, when we've hired a building inspector, you know, I'm just gonna go back to that process. It was Gary and I, you know, along with you, we kinda got it down to finalists, and then we
Mhm.
brought the finalists to this board.
Yeah.
I would say depending upon how many applicants we have,
Yeah, that'll be the big
maybe
question.
we should bring either two, or you know, at a minimum two, obviously, or three. I would say three would be optimal, to bring three final candidates to the full board. That would be the number if we can, you know, if we get there.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I mean, you know, I don't mind serving on that initials. I think it should be two selectmen though, probably.
Okay.
You know, Gary and I did we did the building inspector. I think that's worked out very well for us. Pat ourselves on the back on that one. But, so I mean, you know, I'd be willing to, you know, this way, if I can't make it, if I have a, you know, work commitment or something, and, you know, maybe Gary or whoever else wants to, you know, Doug, anybody. I mean,
Did we use the same process with the hiring of the police chief? New
we only
police
had
chief?
two candidates.
We only had two candidates.
So it was
They
pretty,
were-
it was
they were
fairly simple.
internal.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
stayed
okay.
internal,
Right,
so
right.
that was a pretty easy one, because we stayed
Okay.
internal, so.
So then let's do that, right? So this fire chiefs committee with yourself, are going to interview and then send up some semifinalists to the screening committee?
Yes.
Okay, and the screening committee is gonna be made up of a couple of selectmen and yourself and Al, and Chief Beardsley,
I would.
if that makes sense?
Yeah, I like two from here, because if someone can't make it, then the other one covers, then you can talk, you know? Because I think that process worked out great when we did the other,
And then
Gary and I did it.
2 to 3 finalists will come up to the Board of Selectmen. Okay.
Preferably three would be great.
Yeah, it just depends.
Right,
How many
depends
you
how many we
get.
get.
Candidates, right. Okay, so let's work backwards on that. So in order for us to get these, a decision by the Board of Selectmen, this next chief is gonna need, was it typically 4 weeks' notice for a chief?
It can run anywhere between, well, technically 2 weeks.
Technically 2, but I wouldn't wanna do that to a community.
Usually 30 days is optimal.
Okay, so we have to have this, by September, by the end of August, right?
No, by the end of July.
I'm sorry, the end of July.
Mhm.
The end of July. The screening committee has probably gotta send, has gotta finish probably at least a couple weeks before that, so mid-July.
Well, I'm really would like to fast track this, and we can have the Chiefs panel meet a week after, or days after, a week after the closing. So it would be June 7th.
Mm-hmm.
Give them a week to do the, well, give them a week to turn around the essays, have them back on the 7th, have the Chiefs on the 14th. I really wanna do this in June, before July gets.
Well, can I just make a suggestion? You know, if we had to, you know, we could appoint an acting chief for 30 or 60 days, if we had to. I don't really wanna rush the process through. I think we should do this, you know, this is when mistakes get made, and, you know, unrealistic deadlines. I think that, you know, try to do that, but to give a candidate, you know, only a week to do, I mean, those are pretty extensive questions. Maybe is being a little bit unfair to the candidate too. And people may just say, yeah, the heck with it, because I can't get to it that quickly, but I really want, you know, again, really want the job. If we just had to, you know, appoint somebody acting just for 30 days, I don't think that's the end of the world, but that's just my 2 cents.
Well, I have found, the more time you give them, the more time they take.
Right, I understand,
I've
but.
been on both
You're
sides of
right.
that equation myself.
Right.
And I've done recruiting for 5 years, and you know,
It's a
it
disservice
doesn't take
for
that
them.
long.
So,
That-
at least okay, so if we just have, critical path here for a second, so by mid-July, these guys have gotta come out of the screening committee. All right, and then before the end of June, these interviews all have to be done. So why don't you just do this? Why don't you take a look at the calendar and propose some dates to us in the July and June that you'd like to see this done? I just need to see this on a calendar as well as vacations and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I gotta
it's cutting it
consider as
close.
well.
Well, that's what I'd asked Mike to
Yeah.
pretty much fast track it, because you're gonna run into July and August issues.
Yeah, so,
I'm gone mid-July.
I want you to own this, but if you can just share those dates with us, and we'll make sure that we and the fire chiefs all can make those dates happen. All right? All right, so I think are we all clear on terms of the process?
I just wanted, is a week, Mike, do you feel a week is long enough for them to come up with
10 days.
with 5 pages of,
Say by June,
Answers?
if you say June 10th.
10 days is sufficient.
Just a question in the process, and I don't know how it got advertised, I haven't seen it, but, and on the financial end, I mean,
I just passed out the ad.
okay, right, yeah, but I haven't.
It says
had time to look.
63,000 depending upon qualifications. That's all we have
Okay,
budgeted. Can't pay any more without going to town meeting.
okay.
That's what the current chief is earning.
In the initial thought process there, our initial discussions, let's see what we get back for candidates at that number.
We'll
Because,
adjust if we have.
yeah, we may be faced with,
3 candidates.
yeah,
Or none. 7 responses and 3 qualified.
The number is, for what we're doing now is, seems to be, it appears to be pretty low.
you may get
Let's be
applicants that
realistic.
don't even write the essay.
Right.
Take them
Let's be
aside.
realistic.
You're gonna get some folks who are probably looking to retire pretty soon and would like to ride this out, or very young and would like to become a fire chief.
Right.
So,
All depends.
who have some experience as an officer. So Mike, if you wouldn't mind, can you, take a look at the calendar in the next couple of days? Just send us out a proposed, dates on these activities and frame out the process for us?
Yes.
Doesn't have to be too detailed, just bullets.
Mr. Chairman, I didn't see anybody step forward besides me to be on that committee, so.
Yeah.
Well, I can, I mean, I don't know if we need to make a motion on that, I don't know what the board decided.
No need to be, I'm fine with that if you
Let's
guys,
do it.
because we're gonna end up all interviewing anyhow at the end of the day.
I think that's a chairman appointment, so if you want us to do it, I'll certainly stick. We did good job the last time, so we can
All
try it
right,
again.
Gary and Dave, if you would serve on that screening committee, that would be terrific with Al and Mike. And Mike, just make sure you communicate with with Chief Beardsley on that too, okay?
Yeah.
You guys good on that? Any more questions on the fire? Okay.
Have an answer to Gary's precedents. You have to remember the police officers are always working on holidays. So the contract reads that they shall be paid 1.5 times for those who work it, plus holiday pay. So they're making 2.5 times their regular salary if they work a holiday, any holiday. And there's 13.
Well, yes, but
Isn't
but
that statutory?
but the others would be taking that. Cause they're also gonna be getting paid for the holiday.
The other group.
So
No.
You're
No,
explaining.
Getting double pay.
They're only getting double
They're
pay
getting
if
double
they,
time.
if they're scheduled on those days, which would be few and far between. It'd have to be a major emergency in town.
But they'd be, still be getting holiday pay.
Above and beyond double time? No, I think they'd just be getting double time.
It would be double time for
Double
working.
time.
Yeah,
Just
double time
double
for
time.
working, not
Plus
plus.
holiday pay.
No.
So
No,
they-
Won't-
we
Currently,
don't,
they don't get holiday pay.
right, they don't.
we don't pay holiday pay to the.
Yeah,
Oh, no, I see what you're saying, Gary. Yeah,
They
no, you're
get
right.
holiday
You're right,
pay.
no, he's right.
You mean if
Well,
they work?
that's the same as the police, so just do the math.
Yeah.
So you're talking 3? versus
Yeah, you're right.
2?
Um,
What are they getting on?
The
The
intent,
holiday.
the intent is, in the contract for the highway to be paid double time.
Yes.
Because they're not regularly scheduled to work these days. This would have to be an emergency situation.
Right.
The
If
DPW
they-
is
if
not-
they're not scheduled to work on Christmas.
Right, but the police
Right, so we're not
department
paying
is.
them holiday pay
I've
on
lived in
Christmas
this
because they're
town
not
a
They
long
just
working.
get
time.
paid
It
for the
snows
day.
on Christmas.
Yeah,
Yeah, so-
there are
Right.
occasional,
But they're not regularly scheduled, that's why I
I
think.
agree, I'm just
Yeah.
saying,
Yeah, I know, I
it
agree.
it is more than the other contracts.
Right.
Mike was
But I-
sort of presenting it, it
Yeah,
looked like less, it's not.
No, it isn't, but
Is it a 3?
the thought process.
A half less.
Yeah, it's a half plus. The thought process is though, they're not normally scheduled,
Agreed there.
and that's why they should get a little bit of a differential. To me, I think, if somebody gets called out on Christmas versus knowing 2 weeks in advance or a month in advance they're working Christmas, there's a difference to that. If somebody gets called out for, God forbid, there's a major emergency in town and the DPW is out on the road, then, that's really giving it up without any real advance warning.
Right, to Gary's point, they're getting paid for the holiday as every employee
Right,
does.
right,
And then for
sorry.
the fact that they have to be called in, now we're paying them double for that pay.
Right.
In addition to their holiday pay.
Right.
Okay. Which is the same frame as the other unions.
So it's double time plus their regular salary for that
No,
day?
it's just, it increases to double time.
Okay, so their
You don't
salary
get a
increases
day's
to double
pay
time,
plus
or their
twice
hourly
on top of it.
wage is increasing to twice of
Right.
what it would be normally on that day.
Right.
yes.
Okay.
Right.
That's what Gary was asking, it sounded like you were thinking it was,
It's not,
the regular plus
It's a
double
half a
time.
percent more than the other contracts, that was my concern.
But because they're not normally scheduled, this would have to be a major
That's
variance.
an excellent point, David, it is.
Yeah, and they should get a little time.
They're getting time and a half, double time and a half, right? The other contracts?
Yes.
And this is double time versus double and a half time. So this is a half of.
Can you
of
read
pay.
that again?
This is a
Bill?
half point less.
Read that again, please.
Um,
I don't
We're getting tired.
know.
Read it again, please.
Employees who work on holidays shall be paid at 1.5 times their straight time, in addition to their holiday pay.
Yeah.
Or be entitled to comp time off at the discretion of the sergeant or
So it's in
detective.
addition to the holiday.
Oh, so that's actually more than this.
That's
then.
correct, this is less.
This is only base pay, whatever.
This is not in addition to their holiday pay.
Right, right, that's actually,
That's more, that's,
that's a lot more.
I think it's just stating that they're also getting holiday pay there.
that's
I
two
think
and a
it's
half.
just the way it's worded.
I don't know,
I don't
Mike, that
think we're
sounds to me
getting-
like it's 2.5,
I
no?
don't think they're getting that, but it's like I said, we're in the negotiations, and I feel that.
No, the negotiations have ended.
Yeah, but we're discussing what could be an executive session, and I'm ready to vote anyway on it.
Move the question, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. All right.
But Mike, Mr. Chairman, could we just ask Mike to clarify that though for our next meeting? Or just get it on an email that we won't respond to, that clarifies that particular issue? Because I'd like to know that too. Because so if you work a holiday and you're scheduled for a holiday, the way Mike was reading it was you get a full day's pay for straight time. So say just hypothetically, if you make $100 a day, you get 100, plus you'd get another 150, so you get 250 for that day. That doesn't sound right to me. I think if you made 100, and you would get 150 for the day, not 250. But
You're getting the 250 because of your holiday pay.
I don't know.
I've always worked, I
That's
mean, I
pretty
remember when I
I
was
was
a
a union
kid.
steward, and
I
I
always-
negotiated 3
Wow.
contracts, I know
Wow.
contract language, and,
Right.
that's.
But the biggest difference between these two contracts, the police say in addition to
Right.
holiday pay.
This
Yeah,
is-
I think
This
it's-
doesn't say that.
I
Okay.
think it's just worded that way. I mean, it's gonna be in their contract somewhere that they get paid for the holiday. I don't think we need to go there.
all right.
All right, let's move
Sounds
on.
like 2.5 to me from the
Yeah.
police.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see, I think I got everything. Mike, if I could have a town administrator's report on anything else?
I think some of you probably noticed a change, at least on the backside of the town hall. At long last, the painting project for the town hall is commenced.
I was here this morning.
So was I.
There was a bunch of people.
We had 7 guests of the county
Correctional facility.
working along with a guard. They did a great first day's work. We were a little slow getting started, collecting ladders, and we had a lot of equipment. And I want to give a shout out and a heads up and a thank you to Alan Olson and Scott Olson. Alan brought his safety training officer in the first thing this morning and conducted a safety seminar for the inmates who'll be working on ladders. He was also pulling guys off the ladders when they didn't have their safety goggles and masks on too for scraping. But they worked very well, and I think this is a tremendous opportunity for the town. As you know, last year I bid it out, and it came in at $86,000. We only had $25,000 budgeted from CPC, and I have to add that Alan was able to obtain a donation of the paint from a Sherwin-Williams store. Generally goes for $50 a gallon, and that's going to be free of cost.
Excellent.
Good.
And the guys work for coffee and lunch. That's going to be our major expense.
So instead of $86,000 for this whole project, it's probably gonna be about $8,600 of pizza and coffee and drinks. That's great.
Hey, I'll take 10 to 1 on that.
You may be right.
Gary?
This is one time where it pays to go to those
I
meetings.
know, we go to Mass Municipal meeting and we find out that they painted Town Hall in Seabrook for 0.
Salisbury.
Or Salisbury, that's right,
Yeah, one of the
Salisbury. It
guys
was Neil.
was on that work crew.
Was he really?
Talked
Oh,
to me
okay.
today. He said, "Do you know Neil Harrington?" I said, "Yes, I do."
I
And
did see Mr. Harrington at a bar and I bought him a drink and said thanks for our free paint job on Town Hall.
Mike, we
And we
should
laughed.
also, we should also send a really nice thank you to both Sherwin-Williams.
Oh, we're
And so-
going to.
Oh, yeah.
As a
Sheriff
matter of fact,
Cousins.
I'm gonna make
Alan.
have a sign made up.
Great,
You know, paint donated by by Sherwin-Williams.
nice.
Okay.
And
Out
Sheriff
front so
Cousins
people
also.
can see it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Just another
Okay.
question.
And work done by the,
And
so when people are driving by, they're like, oh, wow, we're getting
Yes.
free paint and free scraping and, okay.
and
Good.
and free consulting from the Olson
Olsons, yeah.
group.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Great, great to see that.
Gary,
pulled
any
together.
question?
Well, just on some of the needed repairs, other than just painting, are they also handling that end, or?
I have hired, I'm about to hire a carpenter to fix the porticos out front.
Great.
Oh, good.
Great,
Very
thank
good.
you.
I have a bid on that, it's quite reasonable. Not a bid, but an estimate, because it's so low, it doesn't need
Now
to
to
be
come on the
bid.
painting also,
Yes.
Yeah, great.
Mhm.
Okay, one last item we have is a meeting notice from West Newbury regarding Whittier Regional Vocational School. This is an open meeting on Thursday, May 14th at the Merrimack Public Library at 6 p.m.,
We missed it.
which
Yeah, we already
was...
had last week.
Oh, that was last week, yeah, you're right.
All right.
There's gonna be a follow-up.
Well,
I
there
got
will
an
be.
email
Oh, they-
today.
If I may say, Mr. Chair, it was a very informative letter. You know, I don't know if anybody made the meeting, but, it could have, you know, our representative on that could have perhaps made it, I'm not sure, but
Right. Who
Well,
is...
we have a
we
board
should follow
member
up.
from town.
Yes, that's what I mean,
Yeah.
yes.
Who's on, who,
School committee, or?
Who?
I believe it's Joanne
Yeah.
Testaverde.
really?
Who sits on that board?
Okay.
I don't know if they may bother.
Would you, Mike, can you find out if if she had gone to that meeting, and if there's any, at least we can we get a copy of the meeting minutes? That would at least give us,
There was an email that I got today, I did put a copy in there, that they're looking to set up a subcommittee.
Yeah, yeah.
Volunteer, it was one of those last ones you got.
Okay.
this is from Carol McLeod.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Well, at the meeting last week, it was decided to start a subcommittee to discuss the issues and then bring them forward to the Whittier School Committee and the new superintendent. Please forward the name of one representative from your town or city that will be on your subcommittee, on the subcommittee, then a meeting plan. Can, Ms. Testaverde also run on that, or would anyone be interested in joining that subcommittee? Can you ask Ms. Testaverde if she would consider being part of this subcommittee as well, considering she's already our delegate? Okay.
Then if not, perhaps we can find somebody on this board to attend it, because it looks like it could be costing us some money.
Okay. All right, any more business before the board, gentlemen?
If I could, Mr. Chair, I'd like to know, after the town meeting now, do we have a process for the senior center? We voted some money, and I think this board should sort of take charge on that going forward, how we handle that now.
So,
I mean,
what did
we'll
we
have to
do? We
discuss it.
allocated some money toward, a
Design.
design, right?
It's a procurement process
Yeah.
at this point.
Well, yeah, but what is the process gonna be? I mean, it also said to modify and equip. I mean, do we, so I guess what do you, we did sort of at one point turn some of this over to you. What do you,
Well, we have to follow the
Procurement law.
the procurement law. It's,
yeah, but
chapter 30, section 7, I believe.
what's the plan for, what part of the procurement law are you following the plan for? We didn't have anything
Who's
definitive.
gonna take this project by the,
It's a
by
re-
the,
It's a,
by
re-
the
well,
horns and
I'm
start it?
going to put out a request for qualifications.
Ah, there you go. Okay.
RFQ.
Gary, are you talking in relation to the number of classrooms? Or are you talking
No,
about
on
just
gonna
how
start
how
design
the
build?
process is going
Oh,
to
okay.
go forward. We really haven't talked about that other than what was in the warrant. I mean,
Well, I think, it's so Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but, so we'll go out to bid for an architecture or engineering, company to come in, take a look at what the requirements are, look at the space, and they'll come back with an option or set of options for us to consider.
We'll give them, we'll tell them what we want, and then
Yep, the requirements.
they send their requirement, their qualifications, and we choose a,
Design build?
no.
Well, just design, right?
And
But
they-
you'll do that at a procurement,
it-
right? And,
it's-
and then what I'm talking about after that is they'll give us a set of drawings and a bill of.
We'll come out of is construction plans.
Yep.
And they will also be the construction supervisors.
And then from there, I think Gary is getting to the point, at least for me, is at what point, at what endpoint does the Board of Selectmen need, input does the Board of Selectmen should or need to be as part of that approval process?
Of
If needed, right.
No,
And maybe we just allocate one or two of us that work closely with the Council on Aging as they go through the process, because this is really their project.
if that,
They go to work with the school.
if I may, I mean, in our minutes, there was discussion, one of the ones that I had Janet change that we approved tonight, and when we previously talked about this at the joint meeting with finance, you know, I had suggested that could the school department do the work, and this was, I was on the walkthrough, the first walkthrough with, I believe, Mike, and Mike Anderson felt that they are capable of doing it. I have asked Mike if he still feels that way, and if he could do it, if the funding was there, so it wouldn't be within the school budget, sort of on time and a half, as Peter Durkee has worked on the project, was a historical. And he felt that, yes, they could. So I asked about architects and that to get the permitting, because I've also talked with John down about the permitting, and he says without something from an architect, he can't do that. Mike says, yes, he has an architect that the school does work with to do that. So I would think that that architect might be within the bid clause or whatever, state-approved thing. So, I mean, this could possibly get moved forward at a much more reasonable. I mean, Colleen has gone through this with Ed DeJardis, and he has given us some rather good prints. That's what he used to do. And I just feel that things could get moving at a less costly pace. And Council on Aging, I think, would be happy if the Board of Selectmen, Colleen, if we sort of did take this and see if this was possible.
So,
Pardon me, but I don't see how the janitorial and maintenance staff of the school is remotely qualified to do any of this. You have to be a plumber, you have to be an electrician.
They have plumbers.
No, they don't.
If I may, they have to have somebody that comes in and maintains their sprinkler system yearly.
So do we.
That's an
Yes.
outside vendor.
Okay, and that would be the person that would come in and do the sprinkler, that was concerned about the sprinklers, so that, and they are very capable.
But all
and
that
an
has to be-
Architect would look at that. The biggest thing I see that Ed hasn't handled here, although he does have a note, and that is that, you know, there are some, I think it's either 3 or 4 boys' urinals that need to be changed to men's urinals.
If I may, when we talked about it, Ed's point of view was it's just gonna be a partition. But Colleen very clearly stated, no, it's not a partition, it's a wall. If it's a wall, that requires sprinklers, that requires HVAC,
Yes, no.
that requires electrical, and that is gonna be a totally different scenario than putting up a partition, because
No.
you're putting a full-blown wall in and you're affecting HVAC, sprinklers and everything else.
If I could just stick my 2 cents in.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think Ed's was more of a conceptual, because
Yeah.
Ed's not stamped, Ed's not
Right.
practicing.
I agree.
It's conceptual.
I agree.
So I think with the scope of this project, I still think we have to go out, and Mike has to do the request for qualifications for an architect to give us the proper drawings. From there,
Right, then
we can
make a
decide whether the scope of this project meets the point where we have to go out and bid it, right? If it's more than, they'll give us a job estimate, right? Won't they give us a
More
construction
than
estimate?
35,000.
It's more than 35,000, then the law requires us to bid it out. So that, I think,
Even if it's under 35, you still have to pay prevailing wage.
prevailing wage, right, understand that, but I know
Not
where
if-
Gary's going with that, I'm with you,
Yeah,
I'm,
not if our school department was capable of doing it. They would be getting their wage, so there'd be some savings there.
all depends, it
You-
depends
you-
what the scope of the project is, once
All
the
I'm
design
saying
guys
is
are done
we-
with it.
I think we need to further talk about this. I don't think
Oh,
we're
of
gonna get to
course.
the end of this tonight, but I mean,
Right.
and I
of course.
will follow through on some other things. But
Yeah, I look, so they go out to bid on the procurement of the design. We need the design before we do anything. When we get a set of designs back, then we can make a decision, as Dave said, on the scope. Is this something within our wherewithal that we can do internally?
Right.
And if so, let's pursue that. And if not, let's go out to bid to have it done. We'll have to make that decision when
You
it comes.
might talk to Mike and see who it is that he works with. It might be cheaper.
Well, we
than
could
putting it
request,
out.
now, I don't know if,
We will.
is,
I think that's prudent.
do we have the ability to request, if this came back and the architects say, the projected cost of this is 200, let's just pick a number, $200,000. Well, then there we know that the scope of this project needs to go out to bid. Could we request, though, once we pick a contractor, to utilize local vendors or existing vendors that the town has? Can we mandate that? You can't mandate that? I know on a private job, my building, I did. I said I wanted people
It's
from
Public bidding.
public bidding. Okay.
Okay, well, we're not gonna settle this tonight. I think, we just need to, every at the next meeting, just give us an update on where we are on that. That would be
Yeah,
helpful.
Mr. Chairman, do we know where we're getting the funds to do this with? I know we have to get an idea of what it's gonna cost.
Yeah.
But I would hate to, listen, I'm a senior citizen. I want a senior center, but I don't wanna continually burden the taxpayer by borrowing.
Yeah.
So do we have
We haven't
money
figured that out yet.
internally, or?
We haven't
Yeah.
figured
We
that out.
do
yet.
not
We
have
the 45,000 we
anything.
have, right?
We have design build money,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah, then we'll figure that out down the
Or
road. yeah.
design services money.
Then if I may, one more question, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
And that's on old business also.
Yep.
At our last meeting, we received a letter from Alan Olson, and I believe, has the, trust met with him at all?
Wednesday night.
Hmm?
Wednesday night. This coming Wednesday.
This coming
Okay,
Wednesday?
and so we will be following up on this as a board, because I know that, I guess it requires some involvement from the board.
Yeah, we'll give you an update.
Okay, yeah, no, I thought according to this that he was meeting on, Wednesday, May sixth.
Yeah, that got changed because
Okay.
Howard's daughter was in a play, so we moved it to the 20th.
Okay. So,
Kids
we'll hear more on that when it happens. Okay,
Yep,
thank
yep.
you.
Anyone else have any last comments?
Well, other than me, I'd just like to thank the voters, the few that turned out. And I do look forward to working with the town's boards and committees and with you gentlemen here that have had so many years' experience.
I also thank the voters too. It was a long day out there, it got cold, but
Yeah.
thank you for everybody that came out and voted and supported us.
Yeah, Doug, I give you, I think you may already have my cell phone. You're welcome to call me and Mike anytime to help, and any other board members to, kind of coach you through this to get you up to speed as fast as you can. All right?
The, one other thing though, regarding the Veteran Services Officer, the application date has, come and gone.
I don't have that information in front of me right now, but I can get it to you, and I'll make sure that the town has it as well.
Yeah, I wasn't certain. I had heard that that all applications had been in by either last Friday or the Friday before.
Yeah, I think it's, I'm not gonna give you a definitive
no,
on that,
okay.
I've been traveling last week, so I don't know. Okay, so I just wanna remind folks that the Memorial Day parade itself, anyhow, will be assembling at the Georgetown Middle High School at 9:30 and beginning to march at 10
That's on Monday.
on Monday,
Monday the 25th.
the 25th. And our next meeting will be on June 8th at 6:30, and right now scheduled for June 22nd
Yeah.
at 6:30 as well. So I need a motion to adjourn?
Mike, you need us for something?
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
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 All right, gentlemen, thank you very much.
Everybody sign with